Hello. It's Thursday afternoon. It is the live stream, and it's exciting today. A bit of a different live stream beaming to you from Northern Scotland. As advertised, we are going to try to do a full demo today, a soup to nuts, as the idiom goes, run through of quite a lot of consonants. So I'm a bit excited. I'm a bit nervous actually, because I just want to make sure that I get everything across to you in a timely fashion. So let's have a look at our agenda for this week, because normally, we go through our task of the week and everything. This time, all a bit different. So new slides. Let's have a look. The consonants demo. So welcome to usual listeners. Welcome also to those who haven't got the first idea what consonants is and are here to discover for the first time. So I hope that regular listeners will discover something new, but get a sense of the overall shape of the thing again. Never hurts to have that bird's eye view, does it? And to people who've never met me before, who have never tuned in yet and are wondering what all of this consonants business is all about, welcome to the channel. My name's Emma Barnes. I'm the CEO here at General Products, makers of consonants, and we're going to take you through today some of the ways that consonants help your business. So this is the plan. We are going to step through, first of all, using the system. One version of the truth is the real selling point of consonants. It's where everything goes. Everything from your bibliographic metadata all the way through to your production and royalties and rights and everything. So we're gonna have a scamper through that. Then we're going to have a look at what consonants does whilst we're all asleep at night. There's a lot of automation that goes on in consonants. So we're going to have a deep dive into that, see what sort of things we're talking about there. Once teams have worked hard to get all of the data into your one version of the truth, it's now a rich seam of data waiting to be mined and inspected and analysed and to have insights bubbling up. So we are going to have a look at when you're in your role of manager, what do you get out of consonants when you have this incredible dense resource that's got everything in it? How do you make sense of that and how do you extract value from that? Speaking of value, we're going to have a quick look at whether it's worth it. What is the return on investment from consonants? And we're not just talking about the financial cost. It's a investment of time and effort, and it's almost like a subscription to a way of thinking about your data, a way of being a true team. So we'll talk a little bit about what you get when you embark on a consonants project. And then if you like what you see, then we'll talk about next steps at the end. But we are hoping that to share with you today what this thing is, because it might not be right for you. It might be your dream come true. We don't know. But this is in the interests of letting you know what we are all about so that you can decide for yourself. Great. So on with the show. We shall have a look to see how people use consonants. And if you're following along and your day job, is 10 hours a day using consonants, then this will be interesting to see some of the ways that I use the system and go about navigating through some of the highlights that I think are important. And if you're new to this, then this is going to be a run through of a lot of different things, but hopefully you'll get the gist. So let's start. We're starting with no information in the system, and we are going to start with a spreadsheet. We've got all of this data laid out in a spreadsheet, and spreadsheets will be very familiar to you. Publishing really does run on them, it feels like sometimes, and so a lot of the usual sort of information that we're looking at here, bibliographic information, and we're going to be able to take this flat file and import it into consonants. So some made up books about cats, certainly, But let's go over to Consonance now and import that data. So we go to our menu and go to the import section, and then we're going to create a new import. So there's a number of different ways to get data into Consonance. This is to get products from a spreadsheet in. And here's that spreadsheet that we were just looking at. So I'm going to upload that, and Consonance is going to validate it and make sure that everything is all right with the data that you're proposing to import. So it's all good. So we can go ahead and have a look at, has Consonance made any adjustments? Well, sure enough, here are some improvements that have been made on the fly. It's a great opportunity to make sure everything's good. So it is. So we'll approve that import. And away we go. Importing has happened and everything's now in the database. So let's have a look to see what that looks like. We can go to viewing imported items, and there's our 40 products. So, quick as that, from a spreadsheet into the system, ready to be looked at. But we can see that we don't have many covers there. So let's go back to our menu and bulk import a bunch of cover designs. So I'm going to select those files now, and here they all are named with the ISBN so that Consonance knows how to match them up. And we load that in, click to upload 22 files, and quick as you like, those files are uploaded and processed and attached to the records that we got from the spreadsheet. And we can check that. Let's have a look at all of the products created after yesterday. And sure enough, there's our 40 products. And now we can choose a display to see those thumbnails all beautifully arranged there. So that's looking really good. So, really quickly, we're able to get that data in. And if we want to now start editing it, it's all there, ready to go. So let's change the project stage, for instance. We set everything up in the spreadsheet, but we can change data in bulk just like that on the fly. So all of these have been imported, ready to amend, ready to scrutinise and look at, and we're seeing there that that's that bulk change that we've made. So, really fast out of the gate, able to get, up and running really quite quickly. We've imported from a spreadsheet there. We would normally, when we're setting up a new client, find their ONIX feed from an existing party. It's much richer, much denser amount of information. But, the process is similar. We would look at the existing data, make sure if there's anything problematic that we need to change on the fly, or if there's any improvements we can make whilst we're looking at the data, then it's a great opportunity to do that. But certainly, getting set up is a quick process, and really nice to start looking at the system with your own data in. I mean, today, we're going to be looking at a lot of cat-based information, but it really starts to come alive when it's your information in the system. So, you've seen how fast it is. If you want to have a demo of your data within the system, then that's fairly trivial. So definitely get in touch, ask for that. So we've uploaded all of that information, and we're at the sort of top level. But let's dive in to one particular work here. And go into this one work, Cats Ahoy, and start having a look at the data on the metadata page. Now, what we've got here is the information from the spreadsheet is now in the relational database that underpins Consonance. And so you're seeing here all of the different products of a work. So on that spreadsheet, we had different products, row by row. Each row was a product, but what we're seeing here is a work that contains its products. So it's already starting to structure your data in a way that is more maintainable, easier to reason with, and with the right data next to the right data, so that you don't have to enter data more than you have to. And what we're seeing, is barcodes being generated from your ISBN 13s that have been uploaded. So Consonance is full of small affordances like this that make it much less likely that you're going to encounter trouble and typos and small errors that amount to large problems. So it's really nice to be able to see, we've only just imported this data, but here we are using it as the basis for real publishing assets, real progress, real workflow capability. But there are only 2 here, so if we add some more prices to this record, we're going to be able to see some more barcodes with those prices in. So this client is set up to manage these 5 currencies. It's a limitless number. These are consumer RRP. You can have membership pricing, library pricing, corporate pricing, and so forth. And this is the simple way to enter it. If you have tax information, there's a lot behind the scenes. But, let's go back, and now we can see that there's 5 barcodes there, all with the correct price add-on. So, just a really nice small example of how Consonance takes data and turns it into something real, accurate, timely, and one version of the truth. We haven't uploaded barcode images there. We have generated barcodes from the one version of the truth, ISBN 13. So that's great news. So let's see what else we can do to enhance this information. We've got an overview page here, and it's looking all right, but there's a quality issue. We can see that there are some quality checks within Consonance, and we've got some work to do. We don't have a main description, we don't have a short description, so let's go and improve this information now. So back to the metadata page, and here we are looking all the way down each of the regions. I'll just scroll all the way down so that you don't kind of miss anything. You'll notice that there's some format specific regions, like audio has its own duration area, but this is the page where everything goes so that ONIX messages can be generated, and also advanced information sheets, and also spreadsheet exports, and any other exports you need. So here we are at the marketing text area. We're going to add a main description, which I just conveniently happen to have pasted on my clipboard. Everyone walks around with cat-based information, don't they, on their clipboard? I'm going to just mark it up so that we can see later on that markup appears on our marketing materials PDFs. That's great. It's applied to all of the products. That is optional. We could deselect one if we needed to. Let's do the same for a short description. So we're going to hop in here. These are all of the ONIX based options, of course. Consonance cleaves quite closely to the ONIX standard, but also extends out of it when it's not quite enough. So let's have a look to see whether that's had a good effect. Yep, looking good. We can also add some other information that we saw was missing, contributor information. So if there's a contributor already listed in the system, that's fine, we can add them. But if there isn't a contributor and we need to add them, we don't need to go off to the contacts area. We don't need to zoom around and lose our page. We can actually add information in the moment. And that really is a really helpful way to keep the momentum going, keep your workflow nice and smooth. Being able to interact with most parts of the system as you go, sort of following your nose, letting the system get out of the way, rather than you thinking, I have to make sure that I'm coming back to the right page. This is all of the other information that we saw added to the Excel spreadsheet. But now what we're going to do, we've noticed that we don't have accessibility information. So we've added a little bit of data through form fields, but what we're doing now is adding data through extracting it from a file. I'm uploading this PDF here, and PDFs are structured and they contain a wealth of information. So, we're talking about one version of the truth, but why not, extract data from your ebooks? So this is what we're doing right now. I've just uploaded it. Here are the bookmarks that the file contains. We're now going to be able to get Consonance to take that incredibly accurate information and embed it into our metadata. So here's the table of contents. We've got a button to add as marketing text, and sure enough we've done that, and we can have a look to see that it is indeed nicely presented and structured, ready to enrich your metadata feeds and any other materials. Done that for a PDF. Let's do that for an epub now. And I've actually taken an epub from the internet, an epub about accessibility, so we know that it's well marked up. So let's grab that file now. Here it is. And we're going to do the same thing, save that, let Consonance inspect it, and it's going to have its table of contents, but now also it has this e-publication accessibility detail, which we can click to add to the metadata. I mean, the time saved, the effort saved, the accuracy, it's really good stuff. So here we are, we've got that at the bottom of the page now, where previously it was blank. So what I wanted to, really get across there was that Consonance is going to take the path, I guess, of least resistance. It's going to allow you to put information in quickly and smoothly. It's going to allow you to use relevant sources for that information, whether that's extracted from a file, whether it's an import of ONIX, whether it's top-up information from a spreadsheet, and you're going to be able to use Consonance in a way to sort of straightforwardly structure your information all in one place, and making it not too onerous to get that data in the first place. So that is a really nice way to start the ball rolling. We have imported data, we have enhanced its data. But if we think about the workflow approach to publishing a work or a season of works, oftentimes there's a sort of a linearity to it, isn't there? And we don't just always have a spreadsheet full of data ready to go. What we want to do is capture ideas and capture information at whatever stage of its life cycle it's at, and treat it accordingly. So what we're going to do next is have a look at plans in Consonance. We're going to add one of our works to a plan and create a P&L so that we can decide whether we're going to acquire it in the first place. So a lot of these processes run in parallel, don't they? You might get a proposal in from an author or agent. You might want to put that information into your one version of the truth right from the start, and then everything you do around that happens in Consonance. So even when you've not yet decided you're going to take the work on, it's a useful thing to isolate how many sources of data you have. So let's have a look to see what we mean. So back to our work, and we're looking at plans now. And so if we add a plan, we can structure this in kind of any way we want. We can decide to forecast sales across different sales channels. We can forecast sales for either one work or lots of different works, or all of the products on a work, or just one product. Depends what level of scrutiny you want to apply and what level of planning you want to take. So we're going to look at home trade here for all of the products of Cats Ahoy. Consonance has a lot of templating, so here all we're going to do is type in some quantity and the list price, but then all of the templating is going to take care of what that actually means in terms of the sales forecast. We'll just do it for one product. We'll do the same sort of thing for the costs there, a couple of spurious costs, but this can all be structured in the way that's meaningful to you. And that's enough for Consonance to be able to say, well, we think you're going to sell this much, and we think you're going to spend this much, and this is the margin contribution as a result. What do you think? And then you can take that to your acquisition meeting. You can, if you treat that as the sort of quantitative argument, then you can enhance it with PDF exports of the qualitative argument about why we should take this book on. You know, always enhancing your single source, adding marketing texts, adding internal notes, using the system as an email proxy really to add in discussions, so that you can feel like when you're making acquisition decisions, they are well constructed, well reasoned, and the history of those decisions stays with the project as you go. So the next step, you know, assuming that we think that Cats Ahoy is the book for us, we're going to go ahead and put together the contract, ready for generating a PDF contract, so that we can send that out to the author or agent, and they're going to sign it, and then we can proceed to publication. And the thing I want to draw out of this next part of the demo is that some of the information that goes into contracts is important for the contract itself, but some pieces of information should be kept alive to be used throughout the publishing process. And I'm thinking manuscript delivery dates, gratis copies and promises for that, and also royalty calculations. So what we're going to be doing is adding in data once, one version of the truth, in terms of royalty specifiers, you know, 10% of net receipts, that sort of thing. And then that is the last time we're going to type that into any system. That's enough to generate the contract. That's enough to calculate the royalties way down the line. So, you know, one version of the truth doesn't just apply to bibliographic metadata. So let's have a look at what that is going to look like. So from our plan up to the recently visited works, there's our Cats Ahoy. Back to this page, which is now familiar, but we can see the contract here. And so we're going to be able to go throughout this whole page. There's various different aspects that you'll want to fill in. But one of the most important, of course, is the percentage royalty rates. I'm going to be adding them here at the product level. You can have different product rates per product. You can have one at the work level that overrides everything else. And then going down, you can override the product level at the sales channel level. And that's semi-structured as well. So, you know, 12% of net receipts for the softback is the default, but we can override that for different sales in different channels there. We can add in various sorts of escalators as well, all of which means that, you know, this information has been entered, is going to be a reliable source of what was agreed, and is going to be used as the means of calculating these royalties later on. So you know that whatever you're agreeing here, you're going to be able to support further down. We need to say who is getting these remittances, and so there's our author, and we can also say what percentage of the royalties each author is going to get. We're doing a fairly straightforward one here, of course. And then in that sort of mail merge sense, we're going to add in some clauses from a template, and then that's all going to merge together to form the PDF contract there. So that is a really nice way to capture that information. And just before we leave this page, I'm going to add in a delivery date, because I want this to be one of the sources of data that stays alive, that we're going to use in the workflow area. So let's go to project management on this area, on this work here. No to-dos yet, but there's a lot of templating, so we can copy a previously successful project. And this one right at the top, you can see editorial manuscript received. It doesn't have a due date yet. So let's have a look at that. And if we change the date that this is relative to, then we're going to be able to use our contents date there. So now we have given this to do a due date. And if we find it now, if we look at received, sure enough, there's a due date, and it's because there's a meaningful date elsewhere in the system that we can anchor this against. We still don't have an actual person responsible for this to do, so let's have a look at the roles that are going to be set up on this work. And if we look at roles, then we can see that the commissioning editor currently doesn't yet have a person suggested, so we'll choose this person here. And now the commissioning editor is Emma, and so Consonance will automatically apply the current holder of that role on this work to this to-do. So you can imagine, can't you, that this is a great way to set a lot of things up in advance from templates, from other patterns, not needing everything to be absolutely complete at all moments, but being able to say, well, when we know who the commissioning editor is, great, we can apply them to this work. So we're really keeping data alive, but we're not kind of stopping ourselves from getting on with the job. We're not stopping ourselves from planning well in advance and noticing and developing patterns in our work as well. So now we've got the commissioning editor, still the role, but Consonance knows who is on the hook for this particular work. So that's all great, and gosh, there's so many other areas that we can look at, either at this top level or for individual works. There are some different videos on our YouTube channel, and I'm going to put them in the description below. There's a half an hour royalty run through, for instance, which is a little bit less fast paced and is really a useful thing to dive into if you're thinking about royalties. What we do is just take a single sale and follow it all the way through the process so that you can really see in detail how we're going to be able to use those royalty rates to generate the royalty runs in the statements. So we're not going to cover that today, but we will dive into settings and have a look at, a way to start using our data that we've just imported, and look what we get out of the box. It was not very long ago that we first imported this information into the system, and already we are getting pretty beautiful marketing materials out of it. So this is a marketing material template, and there's a few other things on the template, but we don't yet have the data for it. So let's go in and see about adding that data. I'll open the link in a new tab. We're going to go back to our friend, the marketing text region, and we're going to add in the information that will appear on our marketing materials template once it exists. So we'll type in our bullet pointed key selling points. And we know that this can be added into various feeds. It can be used as appropriate for all sorts of reasons within the supply chain. We're using it on a PDF here, but this sort of information can be selectively used in spreadsheets and your website feeds and all sorts of things. One version of the truth, isn't it? Type it in once, use it in multiple different places. And if we can use it to sell books, then that is even better, which is of course the aim of the exercise. So we've added in a couple more bits of data, refreshed the page, and there it is. We've got our key selling points there. We've got related products at the bottom. We've got an about the author bio. So a really fast way to start using your data in a way that's going to hopefully encourage you to see your data and assess its quality and then put it to work generating more sales. If we nip back to the marketing materials template page, we can see that this is a multi-work layout for the same sort of thing. We imported these images just a moment ago, and now here they are on a flyer being put to work. And as I was saying, that's a PDF export. Let's have a look at getting that same data into a spreadsheet. So you can define custom reports. This is Waterstone's grid. Then we can run reports. That's going to bring back the sort of data that we want. There's lots of ways of searching for your data, and I'm just scampering through some of the list here to get a sense of how many there are. It's not limited to bibliographic data. We'll look for to-dos where the name contains receive. Have a look at that, and then we can choose how to display it. See it in a kind of normal out-of-the-box product list there, but we can also see it in our custom view that we were just looking at. So let's choose our Waterstones grid, see that data there, and you can see that we've got copy to clipboard options. We can download that to CSV. We've got a lot of ways of really getting our data to work for us in short order. You know, I really like that we can get data into the system in a number of different ways, typing with your human hands all the way through to API calls, ONIX imports, spreadsheet imports, and bam, you're there generating beautiful things that are going to save you money by not having to send them out of house to get them created, and are going to be doing what they need to do, which is getting into the hands of people who are trying to discover your works. So it's good stuff all around. So that was a real whistle-stop tour, gosh, half an hour of using the system, moving from page to page, seeing where data can be entered, enhanced, edited, and then sort of expressed within different feeds, different formats. So we've done a great job of looking at how people go about putting the data into the system. So now let's have a look at what Consonance is going to do with some of that information. And you know, we have started to look at this stuff, haven't we? We've started to see how Consonance does things like generating barcodes from other data. We've seen how contract information that you might think stays in a drawer can be used as part of your workflow strategies. And really one of the main additional areas that we've not looked at yet that Consonance manages for you is in generating ONIX XML messages and sending them down the supply chain to your partners. And so really that is one of the greatest benefits of Consonance, is taking all of that useful information that you're putting in, that you're seeing in PDFs and spreadsheets, but it's putting it into a format that other computers in the book trade will understand. So I'm not going to step through the system on this. We're just going to have a look at some snapshots to see the sorts of information that will get revealed, a sort of evidence of what Consonance does with your data on a regular schedule. This, for instance, is a particular page where we can see the data has been sent to various recipients for a single work, and then we can see that wrapped up in terms of, you know, bulk data being sent to individual recipients. It's not just ONIX XML messages which contain the metadata, it's assets as well, audio files, cover images, any other images that your recipients will receive, and it's all on schedules that are agreed between you and your recipient. So there's nothing vanilla about this. There's no sort of bog standard ONIX feed that gets set up. The requirements of each of your trading partners are going to be unique to you and to them, and we handle that as part of our day-to-day working. So whatever schedule you need, whatever particular flavour of transmission you need, whatever business rules need to be applied to what goes to who and when and in what format and under what conditions, then that is our USP. That is what we do day in, day out. Here are some of the templates that are set up. You can see that even though the ONIX 2.1 standard is quite old now, there are still some recipients who require it. So, you know, we operate very pragmatically, not trying to stand on ceremony too much. If the book trade has a particular truth, then we accept that truth and we do what it takes to accommodate it. So Consonance is eminently practical and very pragmatic in that regard. We'll send data to people according to whatever your specifications are. Another kind of way that Consonance works under the hood is by batching information up. Now, sometimes this can be really, to do with ONIX. It can be in terms of sort of gathering together incremental information, but sometimes it can be kind of on demand. So here on this page, what we're looking at is one of the batches that has been created by a user. And you can see down bottom right, we've got a zip file that you can download of all of the ebooks, all of the ebook files for all of the products in that batch. I mean, imagine taking on, if you've taken on a new ebook aggregator and it's all been exciting, and then you thought, oh gosh, somebody's going to have to pull together our existing 600 ebooks, then this is a really great example of what happens when you have a single source of truth and you've got a single button to download a zip file of your 600 ebooks that you want to send off to somebody. So Consonance is very good at identifying patterns, identifying groupings, and then bringing things together in an aggregated way that's going to make your life easier. Another thing on this page is that there are a number of different formats of the covers on this page, the covers of the products that are gathered together in this batch. And the user has not uploaded all of those different flavours. Absolutely not. The user has uploaded the original file, and then Consonance post-processes that original file into all of these different flavours. And it's such a great use of computers, don't you think, to do this boring task that has to be accurate as well and will definitely get repeated. So Consonance is here finding patterns, finding data, aggregating them in useful ways to save you endless hours, if you're anything like me anyway. So those are some of the ways that Consonance will work hard behind the scenes to make sure that you are able to delegate as much sort of computery work to it as possible. Now let's have a look though at what somebody in a managerial role might get out of having subscribed to Consonance. And what we're really talking about here are the insights that, by having data all in one place, are going to be revealed. So we'll step through, again, some screenshots of some examples of this. And really at the heart of this kind of managerial experience is the reporting engine that is baked into your account on Consonance and allows you to tunnel into your information in a very large number of ways. And really what I would do is suggest that you subscribe to the live stream that you're watching now. Every week we do a reporting spotlight and we dive into the detail of a particular report to look at what the business problem is and how we can set up a report to solve that problem. The report we're looking at on the page is it's called High Margin Fantasy, which is quite publishing, isn't it? And it's displaying a whole list of to-dos there. So, a really specific publishing challenge there. But yes, if you follow along on our live stream, then you'll find out all sorts of interesting ways to interrogate your data and then to do something with it, whether that is noticing the patterns, exporting it, copying it to the clipboard so that you can paste it somewhere else, or saving it for future reference so that you can come back to this report again and again. So this page, we're looking at a sales analysis aggregation, almost as a happy accident of running, a happy side effect of running royalties within Consonance. You get to see the aggregated reports of what those sales add up to. And so there are some fascinating insights to be had looking across your list, looking by channel, by product form type, by various different cuts, to see how your different products are performing over what timescales. Here's the same sort of view, but at the series level. Now, how interesting to see whether when you publish a new work in a series, what happens to the sales in the rest of the series? Is there a bump that benefits all of them, or is there a sort of a reduction in sales from other members of the series? So being able to just go to a page like this with no configuration and get that benefit of having your data aggregated for you and presented up is really quite powerful and very Moorish. Here's another way of grouping data together. This is a season display, and so what we're looking at here are some statistics for all of the products and the works in a particular season. This is all defined by you. Consonance isn't assuming any particular date range for what your seasons are. You add works and products to a season, and then you get to see this fascinating insight into what might be missing, what might be. I mean, it might be fine that currently 3 of the contributors to works in this season have unspecified current residency, but if you're trying to make the most of your metadata and if you're trying to ensure that it's as rich as possible, this is really helpful to know. So all sorts of things like this. And then we saw earlier some of the data checks, always useful to see what the current status across the board is. This is at the highest sort of client level, but we saw earlier that you can see these checks at the work level as well. And it may be entirely appropriate to see a lot of red at the beginning part of the publishing process, but as you get closer towards publication, you're going to have internal metrics that are going to hopefully mean that green would be more desirable as you get there. And you can see that we've got suppressed checks as well over on the right there for when some of these checks are not relevant for the products and the works at hand. We looked earlier at generating custom reports from your data. Another great way to discover all of these patterns. There are nearly 1,000 different data elements that can be added to form the columns of your custom reports. You can emulate the Waterstones grid that we saw earlier. You can emulate the spreadsheets that you just have to fill in for reasons every month and take that whole burden off of your plate. We're always keen to hear if there are any new report elements, and we add fairly regularly to this list. And it's the same set of report elements that can be selected to be included on your PDF marketing materials, which we saw earlier. So one version of the truth in terms of familiarity with your data elements that can be used again and again for different purposes, but also that you can start to see these patterns, get much more control and a sense of understanding as to what's going on. I mean, here's a great example. This is an overview of to-dos within the system, and this is arranged by name, and we can see a count of how many to-dos have been, for instance, done, assigned, not assigned, and then diving into this gives us more insight into exactly what's going on and where. And I'm hovering there over a pop-up to show that you can view this data within your own calendar application. So we've already looked at PDFs, we've looked at spreadsheets, we've talked about ONIX, but there's always more formats of data, isn't there? And things like GraphQL APIs or the iCal format is absolutely relevant for certain types of data. So it's really nice to be able to get your data in the form that is most appropriate to take that burden off of you. It's always the joins between systems, isn't it? That's the bit where it gets difficult and awkward. And if we can smooth out those joins at every eventuality, then that is really the name of the game. there will always be issues, and starting to feel a sense of control over them can be helpful. I've just screenshotted the issues list here from a particular list, but there's also to-dos and briefing notes and discussions that mean that any matters arising, for there will be matters arising within publishing, can be captured and owned and made calm because they have been assigned to somebody and somebody is going to be looking after them. Really, the way to solve problems, I think, in publishing is to link data together so that you get early warnings. So, like with the contact date that we saw earlier, being able to key a to-do against the manuscript delivery date, maybe 12 months in advance, that reminds you to drop the author a line to say, how is it coming along? Then you've got a sort of automated way to introduce a very human chase to somebody to check that all is in order, so that you have got a heads up well ahead of time. Everything is calm and under control and well managed, and you're not going to forget anything that will happen in 18 months' time. The timescales are so long in publishing, and you need to be able to sort of set and forget certain triggers for taking action in the future. This is a great way of pulling out information into a very familiar format. We've talked a lot about spreadsheets, haven't we? And being able to kind of replicate a spreadsheet, but from within your canonical system of record, can be very powerful. So this is we call them grids, and these can be user defined and made appropriate for your exact specifications, so that you can replicate the spreadsheet that I know you use for production schedule management within your system. So really nice to be able to have that continuity, but to start to benefit from there only being one place where the due dates are written in, and only one place where the date that we have to send the thing to print is written in. So really the best of both worlds there. There's a lot of other functionality that as a manager you're going to be able to benefit from. So being able to group products any which way, just because that's the rule. This batch is called products to be set at NLS at book source. It's just, it just needs to be this group of products because, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, it just is. And so being able to have that level of granular control can be really helpful. Batches are a way to group products that it's almost the opposite of running one of those searches that we saw, where you're using data to refine down the list. Sometimes in publishing, products just need to belong next to each other for reasons. So we have, again, the two ends of that spectrum. Lots of other data that can be aggregated and presented as useful dashboards and panels and heads up. This is the rights and permissions dashboard. We've also got here the royalty dashboard. This is a screenshot from the YouTube video that I'll link to below, where we do the big run through of the royalty run. So being able to see this sort of recorded history of what was calculated and sent out across time, before you know it, you've got this incredible body of intellectual property, ranging from discursive information in discussions all the way through to kind of your audit trail of changes, royalty information, contract information. I mean, it's slightly hackneyed to say it, but it's at your fingertips. Once it's in one system, it's there to be understood and to be reused and to be made sense of. We saw very briefly that there's a full way to manage contacts within Consonance. We didn't go over to that area, but there is a full address book, and it's designed to be very specifically relevant for publishing. So you'll see that there's addresses that lend themselves to perhaps academic people who work in a sub-building or a room or a department. There's pseudonym management. There's a lot of identifiers at either the person or the organisation level. So, and as you saw, there is a way to not have to go all the way over to the address book area to add in more information. Everything is interconnected, everything is related, and so we're able to have that benefit of Consonance being a very large system, but trying to get it to feel small and immediate in the moment because everything is connected. Data in and out, we've looked at ONIX, of course, we've looked at PDF exports, we've looked at spreadsheets. If you are of a technical mind, you'll be very excited to get in touch with us and ask for a GraphQL API key so that you can start seeing exactly what can be interrogated and posted back to Consonance. It's really nice to be able to integrate your systems in a programmatic way. And so we have this sort of spectrum, don't we, where yes, you can type information in, yes, you can import it from a spreadsheet, but this sort of continuum can get more and more efficient and ends up with Consonance and other systems working together behind the scenes, swapping data as appropriate. This is all very sort of project specific. So depending on who your trading partners are, what your particular motivations are, and what your requirements are, whether that's, automatically updating your customer-facing website all the way through to integrating with your distribution centre, or in the case of our largest client, Taylor and Francis, sending millions upon millions of product fragments of data between various systems daily to ensure a smooth process that doesn't have to have human intervention all the time. So we're very proud to be a good citizen of your overall systems landscape, as it says there. Because getting data in and out is the only way that we're going to all sell more books, get the data in front of the right people. And then a lot of the manager's experience with Consonance is going to be about really refining the system and making it feel like your own. So everything from custom abilities all the way through to really detailed settings. This is just one page here of supplier configuration, where depending on who you work with and what sort of books they store for you or what sort of data they take for you, there's going to be different configurations. We're very proud, for instance, that we support product level, supplier level availability. So that means you can have the same ISBN published in, let's say, the UK and the US on different publication dates, all managed through Consonance. And it's that kind of granular detail that really sort of unlocks powerful workflow processes. And definitely something that you don't want to go to all of the effort of onboarding with a particular system like this and then discover that there are blockers like that. So, we've kind of seen it all. We're always developing the system and we're always making it possible to support the realities of publishing. So that was a real whistle-stop tour there through everything really, from typing in information, looking at what Consonance does behind the scenes, and then seeing what the team as a whole can get out of this wonderful, rich resource of your data. And I mean, I have a very clear answer for whether this results in money in or money out. But let's just have a look at some really kind of top line numbers here. If you were to have a team of 8 people, then it would cost you £7,200 per year, that's Great British pounds, to license the use of Consonance. And that's absolutely everything. There's no modules in Consonance. We don't want to have a financial impediment to you using the system in the way that I'm talking about, to have this one version of the truth where everybody, if they have the permissions, can have access to everything. So this is the sort of the worst cost There's nothing extra piled on top for, I don't know, a royalties module or a production module or something. And if you're paying people, I mean, I am making up numbers now, but if your average pay is £30,000, then we're looking at around about 3% of payroll there, which feels commensurate. Because if each of those people save, let's say, a very modest 5 hours a month, that's the system paid for right there. So 5 hours times 12 months times 8 people times £15 an hour would result in a saving of £7,200. And then on top, you're going to be increasing your sales. And I've not, picked a number out of thin air. You'll have to do this calculation for yourself. But there is an inevitability to revenue going up when you have better metadata reach, when you can create more with your intellectual property. Some of our clients publish into 12 different formats because having the ability to structure and organise them means that you can. If you've been thinking about doing an audiobook programme but have thought, goodness me, where would I start? Well, get your existing data under control, and then it's just another product to add to a work, as well as the creation, obviously. So, you are liberated to create more products and do more with the intellectual property that your authors have kindly licensed to you. And then, on the minus side, you don't need to pay for so many systems, because Consonance is comprehensive in the sense that we've talked about today. And there are intangibles, a new calmness within the working day does bring lower stress. It reduces business risk. It reduces the amount of firefighting you have to do to try to get Amazon to take down the pub date that somebody typed in wrong, or the ISBN that was misallocated. There is a great number of perhaps intangible bases for Consonance being a good business decision to take on. Or you can stick with the status quo. And you can keep doing this. The Post-it note company is not going to go out of business anytime soon, I am sure. But, it's a non-trivial amount of work to get books published, isn't it? And choosing to adopt processes like this, I don't think is sustainable. And I don't think is a fun way to bring more books into the world. And, publishing is very small, and some of our treasured clients, I'm sure, would be delighted to tell you more about their experience with us. If you know anyone on this list, I'm sure that they wouldn't mind if you drop them a line to say, is this real? Is it as good as it sounds? Tell me all of the information. So we have some amazing clients who do fantastic things with the system, and it's definitely worth dropping them a line if you know any of these people. And we've got some more information on our website, some case studies written up where you can hear about some of the incredible things that our clients do. So let's wrap this all up then. We've had a really good run through of pretty much most of the system. I mean, there's lots left uncovered, but for an hour's effort, I think we've done pretty well there, haven't we? And I think it sort of shows that these are some of the problems we're trying to solve for. We're trying to get these sorts of hopes and dreams to be made real. And I would suggest that boils down to one version of the truth, a seamlessness, a true understanding of the realities of publishing. And we are publishers, and we've seen it all, and feel like we have a very clear grasp on the intricacies of the modern book supply chain. And we want to be able to use all of this data together to give us ample warning for anything that's coming down the line. And it goes without saying, really, doesn't it, that all of this is on top of high quality code with a support team that is here to help you and can actually solve your problems on a day-to-day basis, and is affordable and will pay you back. So I would suggest that what you would need is Consonance. And if you would like to talk about that more, then you know where to find me. That's my email address. I'm live on YouTube every Thursday afternoon, and I would really hope that you subscribe to our live stream to hear about a lot of what we've talked about today in a lot more detail. So, yeah, this time next week, live stream again, back to the usual agenda. I shall look forward to seeing you then. Have a good